Today, we explore a defining question of our time, one that could reshape the destiny of an entire continent. Across Africa, a quiet revolution is underway from intelligence, algorithm, transforming financial service to robotic, defining agriculture and security technology. Is no longer a distant concept, it is here and it is evolving fast. In Nigeria, innovation hubs are expanding, startups are attracting global attention, and young minds are pushing the boundaries of what is possible. Yet, challenges remain limited infrastructure, policy gaps, and ever present risks of becoming mere consumers in a world driven by a digital powerhouse. So, where does Africa stand in this global technology race? Can artificial intelligence and robotics unlock real economic power for the continent, or will Africa be left behind in yet another industrial revolution? This is Discuss, and today we ask, is Africa building the future or struggling to catch up? We'll be having this conversation, extracting how the new technological innovation will be attracting basic investment to the continent of Africa and how Africa can benefit and benefit from all of this technological innovations that we have been seeing, starting up from AI, robotics, and the fact that we've seen some individuals have argued that AI is coming to take away the jobs that humans will do, but some have also argued differently that the innovation of technology is not actually to render the human race useless or jobless, but it's for the human race to adapt to the technological innovation and how work can be done more faster and easier using AI or any of those robotics. But what does this mean for the continent of Africa? Beginning to understand the current landscape of this hub, this technological hub, which is centered around Africa's technology ecosystem, is growing rapidly. Nigeria, often regarded as a continent's tech hub, as a tech hub of Africa, is witnessing an increased investment in AI-driven startups and automation solutions, from fintech platforms using machine learning to detect fraud, to smart agricultural system helping farmers predict yield and weather patterns. AI is already influencing everyday life, but while adoption is growing, ownership remains a critical question. These are one of the major conversations we'll be asking, how AI and robotics can be used in individuals' day-to-day activity, day-to-day life, and how how the use of AI and robotics can impact the economic situation in Africa. We'll major more in Nigeria because there's a whole lot happening within this country. We have agricultural food insecurity, we have security challenges, and then all of this transcend and hampers the growth of any specific country's economy. Now we're seeing a war going on within the Middle East. It has not gone into a full-fledged war yet, but that already is having a negative impact on the continent of Africa. We've seen the price of crude oil, skyrocketing to which, on the other note, it's looking like a blessing in disguise for the continent of for Nigeria, based on the 2026 budget cap set by the president on crude oil. So, since this incident happened, this first week of the strike between Israel, US, headed to Iran, we've seen a significant 100% growth of the oil price based on the benchmark, the cap that was placed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the 2026 budget, which was placed at $64 to a barrel. But we've seen crude oil growing and rising to about $120 to a barrel. We witnessed this, and then it is having its own negative effect on the citizens of Nigeria. Given that cost of food items have gone up, logistics cost has also gone up. So we're looking to see how, individuals can be able to maneuver and make meaning of life despite this incident going on in the Middle East, how Africa and Nigeria can maneuver and create a pathway for themselves in terms of revenue generation and having to live and afford basic things that they'll be needing. The president is currently in the United Kingdom on a 2-day visit to the King of UK. So looking at that now, they've been having conversation on around economy, how, and also security, because President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has a projection of a trillion naira GDP economy before 2030, and then this trip was to go strengthen bilateral relationship between the two nations. Now that is still on the way. We are going to follow up on that conversation closely and see what has been signed and how it's going to benefit Nigeria the most, because no country would want to go into any form of bilateral relationship without having something that will benefit the two countries in question. Again, something else that the president is looking to tackle and have conversations around what is around the security challenges that have risen to a very high magnitude here in Nigeria, and then the president is looking to have conversation on how the United Kingdom would help Nigeria combat crime and also the insecurity challenges. Just recently, this week on Monday, we saw strategic attacks in 3 different locations in Maiduguri, and the president has ordered army chiefs to go to Maiduguri and make sure they curtail the situation. So all of this trip and everything that the president has been doing is in line with preserving the state and also improving the state's economy. So we will see how all of this will be panning out, and we'll be having a conversation around this. But today we'll be focusing more on how AI and robotic can lead to become Africa's economic powerhouse, based on the fact that we are seeing significant massive trends in this line. We'll be going on a quick break, and then when we return back, we'll be introducing our guests who will help us unpack this conversation. Stay with us.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Usoro.
On global television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust our multi-platform news broadcast real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on global television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
Global TV News, accurate and unbiased. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe.
Our language, our vibrant culture and colorful tradition, our industrious and hospitable people. This is Nigeria, a nation that prides itself in abundant human and natural resources. From east to west, north to south, we sparkle, we shine, we have a common bond. Fellow Nigerians, let's do away with ethnic, religious and regional sentiments that divide us as a people. God has blessed us and empowered us to find strength in diversity. Let's make our faith and way of worship our source of unity as we build a nation that stays united. Nigeria, together today, together always. This is a public announcement brought to you by Global Television.
Many thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining, this is Discourse here on Global Television. I am Samuel Odi. We'll be looking at technology, innovation, AI, robotics, and Africans' economy. Let's begin by understanding the current landscape. Africa's technology ecosystem is growing rapidly, and Nigeria, often regarded as a continent's tech hub, is witnessing increased investments in AI-driven startups and automation solutions, from fintech platforms using machines learning to detect fraud to smart agricultural systems helping farmers predict yielding and weather patterns. AI is already influencing everyday life, but while adoption is growing, ownership remains very critical, and then lots of questions are being asked on how can farmers, mostly those in the rural community, benefit from this massive trend of technology innovations currently going on in the universe. We're witnessing climate change, we're witnessing war, but a lot of persons are hoping that ends quickly. But still, AI can also play a significant role and robotics can play a significant role in combating and also settling all of these things going on in the world. But to help us unpack this conversation is the CEO of Lognetics AI and Robotics, the person of Light Isiulo. He's also here with his project director, Mr. Awesome Gabriel. Thank you both for joining us on Discuss today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yes, and okay, we'll discuss that off air. You guys will run some staircase for me. All right, let's get to the foundation of the whole thing, Mr. Light. When we talk about AI and robotics as economic drivers, what does this really mean, looking at the current African context?
Okay, so in the African context, I would see artificial intelligence to actually have created a very huge revolution. You can see that it's not just only helping people to simplify way operations, it's also creating opportunities for jobs.
Yes.
You can see a lot of new jobs are basically coming up. You hear people saying prompt engineers.
Yes.
Before now, how many people we are talking about being prompt engineers and the likes of them? So yes. I believe that in the part of being economic drivers, artificial intelligence has actually created a lot of rooms for global growth. Of course, in Africa, you can see a lot of young people that were not developers before now. They're now using AI systems to build really unique websites. Even people that really have very limited content generation abilities, they currently use artificial intelligence to create content. Even young people right now that don't even have experiences with some of the sophisticated design softwares out there, they are currently using artificial intelligence to create designs. And these designs are coming up so fast, looks really easy, and of course really exciting, and they make a lot of money off those kind of projects. So you can see that artificial intelligence has actually created a lot of rooms to, of course, coordinate the young tech space and, of course, influence the rate at which people are basically growing rapidly when it comes to influence and global dominance.
Lognetics is one of the leading forces when it comes to robotics and AI, not just in Nigeria, but also in the continent of Africa. And we've seen you over the years, Lognetics and your Explore distributors host to the best of my knowledge, two of the best tech festivals we've witnessed here in Nigeria and Africa at large. So walk us through that, how all of that came up to light, and then we'll get to the project director and the mind behind the Lognetics hub that I visited a couple of days ago.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Okay, so on the part of Lognetics taking, we wouldn't want to necessarily brag that we're taking the lead, but excitingly, we just launched the Genetics AI project, which is really transformational, such an exciting project, more like an extension of the human brain. That's something that anybody that uses our platform right now will basically understand the simplicity that artificial intelligence is bringing to the global space. Yes. So on that part, one of the things that really influence our decisions to do that is because we see a lot of busy professionals or even young people toggling through multiple platforms daily. Yes. Most of the times, this thing can be very consuming, time-consuming, attention-seeking, and the likes of them. So we decided to build a simple platform that just helps people to focus on making money, while this platform basically helps them to execute projects in real time and, of course, run errands and all. So on the part of Explore, we realized that beyond just being a leading force when it comes to artificial intelligence, we also needed to give back to the society. Yes. And that's why we decided to host a conference-like kind of event. But this time around, it's more impact-driven compared to just being a surface-level kind of event. So we empower young people with tech-related skills. Yes. We also bring them, of course, in rooms where leadership conversations are happening, founders of top global conglomerates or even international organizations basically come to speak, and of course influence them on what the future of technology basically hold. So our major focus is basically not only centered on building disruptions, but also impacting people on building disruptive systems. Yeah.
Okay. Let's get to Mr. Project Director. Looking at it so far, you have been working closely, obviously, with the team that are in charge of all of these innovations that we're seeing. So walk us through the processes and the challenges that, came along the way while you all were getting set with the Netics Hub.
Okay, so thank you for this opportunity. And so subsequently, when we were building Netics AI, Netics AI, I would say, is our baby project, and we had this mindset of reaching out, to the public, to carry artificial intelligence to the next level, what other artificial intelligence experts are doing. We want to bring them together like into an ecosystem. That's what we're doing with Netics AI. And also I'll say the challenges we faced was, building this kind of system ever first in Nigeria, or a Nigerian company building this kind of system is going to be really challenging, whereby we have to train models with different languages. Like what we want to do with Netics AI, I want to make sure that different languages are being incorporated into the into Netics AI.
Nigeria that has lots of
languages, across Africa also. So we want to do that with Netics AI. And also I would say, where we had acquired our facility, we were preparing to get this this display. There's a display of artificial intelligence, what do they call it? Simulation. That's for our Netics AI team, and our programmers all around the company. So it's really an exciting project for us to build, and we look forward to reaching out to the community out there.
Looking at it, Africa currently is a producer of technology, or largely a consumer. A lot of persons have argued differently, because looking at the European world, looking at, let's say Singapore, Thailand, let's don't go all the way to China and Japan. Let's just leave it at those other Asian countries, which are fast rising like Africa. But can you attribute to the fact that Africa is Africa? My question to you now, is Africa a large contributor to this technological innovation trend growth that we're seeing, or are we largely in this continent just mere consumers? Okay, so I would say Africa we are largely more of consumer base of AI, and we are not really the people or the kind of people that build these systems. We mainly consume more. And then what we are trying to do at Lognetics with Netics AI is to be one of the 1% of the people that build this system, and then also for other people outside the country to use this product that we are building also, so that it's not just we consuming those things that the other guys from outside build. We too want to also give back to the society at large. Okay. All right. Now, Mr. Light, let's get back to you. Looking at it now economically, can AI realistically become a major contributor to Africa's GDP? Why? Let's start from Nigeria before we grow out to Africa. President Bola Tinubu have projected a $1 trillion economy by 2030. How many percent do you think AI and robotics can contribute to this trend? Because majorly than what we're seeing is from hospitality, agriculture, and just service-based, basically. So now, looking at it now, how do you think tech and robotics can contribute, and what percentage do you think it can contribute, looking at the trend of technological innovations we are seeing?
Okay, so currently, with the state of things currently in the nation, it's exciting to see that artificial intelligence is actually here to stay. But beyond just the concept around artificial intelligence being in Africa to stay, I would possibly say that contributing to the GDP, yes, it is possible, maybe in 2035, based off of my prediction, But then right now, I strongly believe that how artificial intelligence would actually be major contributors is if we own these systems, rather than just just being consumers. Just like Mr. Awesome had earlier mentioned,
Yes.
right now a lot of concept around artificial intelligence is basically positioning Nigeria as consumers,
Yes.
not just only producers of this system. So that is why we are basically out there to start producing, and it's exciting to see what we can actually do. So on the part of the government, I think we would need access to maybe more infrastructure to be put in place for maybe local organizations or even that local organizations within Africa to actually embrace the concept of artificial intelligence even more. Of course, robotics right now, if you tell my grandfather that you want to build robots, he will just look at you and tell you, you're not a serious young man. You know, but I look at what robotics is actually doing out there across the world. You know, robotics is, one way or the other, we might think that it's possibly going to take over human race, but the honest truth is that it's actually here to stay. Literally, almost everything that you see right now that is basically mechanical, one way or the other, even industries or factories, those gadgets, heavy-duty equipment and all of those things, one way or the other, they're still robots. You know, one way or the other. You know, so I strongly believe that if we embrace this concept even more, provide the best kind of amenities, you know, Nigeria will definitely contribute effectively to the global GDP through artificial intelligence implementations.
Yeah, you know, you at Lognetics, you're working towards some projects right now which is in line to help humans, like you mentioned, live day-to-day lives very swiftly and easily. Looking at our system now, what sector do you think the Nigerian government needs to pay attention to more, which would help? Your projection is 2030 for AI to give birth to the GDP. But for that to happen, what sector do you think the government needs to pay more attention to? Because what made Nigeria the giant of Africa basically was agriculture. Do you think we're going back to focus more on agriculture using AI, robotics? Do you think that will get us back to, you know, where we once were? Because currently now, looking at the African continent, Nigeria is number 3 on that list.
Okay, so now, on the part of industries that artificial intelligence, one way or the other, will directly or indirectly influence, I think every single industry cannot actually be taken out of the equation. This is why I mentioned that, because if you look at it critically, there's literally no industry right now that is not feeding from the values that technology has to bring to the global space. You know, look at agriculture, look at healthcare, look at education. Literally, every industry out there is feeding directly from the values that artificial intelligence or even technology in general will definitely have to, that technology in general is basically infusing into the entire systems of development in each of these sectors. So what I would possibly say, maybe not to be biased, I've mentioned a few industries. I also think that one aspect is also the military, you know, because we tend to talk about healthcare, we tend to talk about education, we also tend to talk about agriculture, we also tend to talk about software in general, you know. But look at the military. What if I build systems that basically reduce the death of military men out there?
Are you building one?
Yes, we are actually. why don't we build those kind of systems so that we can have like better level of security in our country? Because if you look at it critically, I'm scared to make an international trip or even a local trip by road because I'm really scared. Why don't we have like machines that are basically out there to detect real-time bandits and possibly just go there, maybe one high-rise drone, just go there and shoot down every single person instead of our military men having to go into bushes and fight a lot of those things. Maybe if a robot can take 20 bullets without having to die on the last shot, why won't we build those kind of systems to save our military men that the chances of taking one bullet basically just pulls them down? You know, I'm just really saying out there, not to be biased, but I think every single industry would, one way or the other, generate some level of value with artificial intelligence implementations.
I was actually coming into this conversation before you took it away. Just this week, sadly, in Maiduguri, we saw 3 different strikes, which affected some persons that I know, and it's very sad that happened. But talking about building those machines now, military-wise, because I think so far that is the major problem we're facing in this country. Because if insecurity keep persisting, the projection and the dream of Mr. President of having a 1 trillion GDP by 2030 would not even, materialize. So, is there a possible way, since you mentioned there's a way you can build robotics that can take like 20 bullets and not fall down, is there a possible way to detect, maybe individuals wearing, because from what the report says, those individuals that carried out the attack on Monday, just here, were all suicide bombers. Is there a way that a machine can be built that can dictate, someone wearing a vest carrying bomb before the incidents, before it gets to claim people's lives and all of that.
Okay, maybe on the part of like tracking them from a far distance, it might almost be not so possible, but on a closer distance, it's very possible. But of course, there's this particular conversation that we had recently on the part of security, and of course, building AI systems that can actually enhance security and the likes of them. We are looking at strategies around building intelligent systems that can actually understand human traits. Let me give an instance. There's a way a criminal will ideally do, and just by looking at them, you possibly know that, oh, you stole the money. You know how lie detectors could be. Back then, we had this myth around lie detectors and the likes of them. But the intelligent devices that can actually understand how your movement feels like, what you could possibly do with such kind of expressions, and possibly in real time help to tackle those things before you even decide to make some of these moves. Maybe on the part of suicide bombers, there are devices that can actually track that you're holding guns or maybe holding ammunition or some of these really heavy, dangerous devices and all. But I think this is what you just mentioned now. I think I should make really solid research on it. Maybe from a distance, as I'm in this studio, we can have like an intelligent device that basically just floats through air. And who knows, it might one out of 20 people might be a suicide bomber. Just possibly saying.
Okay. Well, also, let's go to you again. How do you think Africa can compete globally now as as a tech giant dominating AI and also development?
Okay, so I would say how Africa will compete. I would say Nigeria will always be, the first to want to put out its head there, to, embrace this technology, do something good with these technologies out there. And what we as Nigerians, we believe is we want to try out those things, we want to make sure that Africa is actually leading, and we want to lead that force, and in terms of, how do I say it? You said the GDP, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and the GDP of Africa will actually boost off when we actually embrace this technology and use them at the long run. Like Mr. Light said, our parents would just say, why are you using this kind of robotics? Why is robots? Or why do you want to go into this thing? Just go in and study your books. But if we have this push, and if we have these facilities, and we have the backings of the government, to actually explore and, create these things, I think Nigeria and Africa at large will move to the point where we need to get to technology.
Earlier you mentioned about what you guys are currently working on that would cut across tribes and all of them needed to build. So looking at it now, do you think with what we have on ground now, at least you guys are doing something a bit different? I have a friend who also used AI to build a CV booster, which after you finish up with your CV there, it's going to tell you the chances you can get to be able to, get a job or get a call up. It gives level of percentage. Now, do you think here in Africa we are adopting the tech companies? Do you think they are building something unique? Because from what I heard and from what you said, you are trying to build something unique that will cut across all the tribes. So in my head now, we have 774 local governments areas in Nigeria, not talking about communities which individuals, get to speak different languages. So in my head, I'm calculating how are you looking to achieve that, but that's your job to do. I want to. Well, how do you think that African tech organizations now are adopting what is really about Africa and putting it in the tech space, or are they just adopting what the Westerners are doing and then bringing it back here for us to, consume? How do you think that African tech startups like yourself would put out Africa in a good light based on what you individuals get to build using your technology?
Okay, so I'll say, first of all, the mindset Africans have is the fact that if this thing is coming from the local space, it's going to struggle in the market,
Or let's just use the word is fake, is bad.
Stuff like that.
Yes.
We had a meeting with someone, and the person was like, why don't you go outside and do this thing there and then bring it back like in here?
Yes.
And we're like, no, we want to actually disrupt. That's what Lognetics or Netics AI is all about.
Yes.
We want to disrupt the market, and we want to have, this ability, and the outside world, the Westerners, to say, oh, there's something good coming from Africa, and we would love to, do something unique. When you talk about the language, it's bit by bit. We train these models, to get to those levels, and also we don't just want to train them for the local African community. We want to also train them for, the global community, where you have other languages like Spanish, the basic language, so that everybody can interact. We don't just want to make this local. We want to go global.
I'm very good with Hausa language when you get to that point. Okay. Light. Looking at it now, this is a very, very big ambition. What are the risks that are heavily, in line with all of these foreign AI technologies and infrastructure, and what challenges are you facing building those AI equipment here in Nigeria instead of going all the way there? And why did you even decide to build that in Nigeria?
Okay, so we, of course, when we started off the whole project, we did our market survey and we realized that we have like a very huge depth of limitation, especially when it comes to building really intelligent systems in Nigeria here. Of course, I was discussing with a friend of mine, he's a software guy, and he told me, Light, what I built worked. Is your Nigerian network that is not good? In my head, I'm like, why? Or Light, go and check your NEPA lines. You get those kind of narratives. So sometimes you want to build, there's a particular degree that you want to get to, but because of the limited infrastructures available for you to explore, it can be a little bit difficult for you to really explore to the degree of which you would want to get to.
Yes.
But still at the same time, we have partners across the world, in China, in the United States, and of course in other developed nations of the world. We want to actually see, beyond just us being software creators or distributors, we also want to see how we can build a very huge level of collaboration across our space.
Yes.
You understand? So we are not just only saying that, we want to do this independently. As a company, you cannot build anything alone.
Yes.
So you have to collaborate with some of the biggest guys in this space that can actually make these things easy for you. So the reason why it's a little bit easier for us is because we have solid collaborations that span across different spaces, both in foreign governments, both in global reputable organizations and the likes of them. So when it's time for us to deploy or build sophisticated systems, we always get them into this space. So that's one of the reasons why we have our lab. We are going to be building real-time robots, and not just any kind of robots, but of course solid, sophisticated systems that definitely will be taking the next level of robotics disruption. So this basically is it. Collaboration is key for us.
Okay, what policy reforms are currently and urgently needed to unlock the growth in this sector? Because it looks like an oil well that is yet to be tapped.
Yeah. Actually, so on the part of policy, I think Ministry of Innovations and Digital Economy is doing a really, really fantastic job. I think when Dr. Bosun Tijani came into power or came into the office, one of the first areas that he actually paid very close attention to is artificial intelligence. And you can see then they were calling for the attention of disruptors or people that are building the next revolutionary systems out there. And I think currently there are a couple of policies that, so I'm opportune to be in spaces where these conversations are happening. I might not be able to reveal most of those information publicly just yet. But I think there are a lot of policies that are basically going to be coming up as soon as possible that will help a lot of young tech startups to build even better, maybe access to some kind of information, of course, that these people would definitely need. Some of the few groundbreaking things that will possibly be coming up pretty soon, And on the part of availability of certain resources, I think these are things as well that companies are also doing. So there's a particular company that reached out to us, and we are currently in communications with them, where we are going to be building a very, very solid sovereign AI system for them. And for them to do that, it means that they're in collaboration with the government, and the government they have the backing of the government to build those kind of spaces, So I strongly believe that Nigeria is doing so well currently, and we are gradually making progress, and that progress is something that we are happy to see as a company every single time we decide to put ourselves out there.
Okay, awesome. Looking at it now, we're doing our days in school. I would agree that we are all from the same era. We didn't get to, we are not opportune to learn all of this in classrooms. Yeah. So there is a disconnect. It takes a different level of passion for you to decide to learn something on your own outside the classroom. So this disconnect now that we have in schools, starting from primary, secondary, down to the tertiary institution, do you think tech courses, text subjects should be introduced into the curriculum of primary, secondary, and also tertiary institution. Mostly in tertiary institution, do you think technology should be a course on its own to study because it's depth and it's very broad?
Yes, I would say it should be a course to study. Like you said the other time when we were in school, we didn't have this leverage. We just had mixed courses together, and you didn't even know which one you want to focus on. As someone like me, I would say when I got to the university, even after finishing university, I was still struggling with what do I want to do. I studied computer science, but because there was no clarity from the beginning, there was no vision, focus on So I would say it should be inculcated into our curriculums, and it's going to help people. Even back, let's go back to secondary school. It's going to be good to have those courses introduced in the curriculum, because I would say. We had an intern come into our company and then recently, and we were asked, what do you want to do? And they were like, I want to do this. But when they saw, robotics, someone designing the robot, and working on, some aspect of our robotics that we're trying to bring out, and they was like, no, I'm interested in this. So there was no focus. But when from the beginning, when they start to get this, this training, introducing this curriculum into the educational sector, it's going to give them more, vision and clarity of, this is what I want to do, and I guess it's going to boost up.
I've seen where people mistake content creation, AI, and robotics. Yeah. So walk us through that. So as people, viewers would know the difference and not like mix up content creation, AI, and robotics.
Okay, content creation. So now you can use AI. AI is a tool.
Yes.
It's just like what aids you to do, carry out your duties. Okay, maybe I want to set up a calendar, or my itineraries are plenty. I just tell AI to help me do these things. Same thing it is for content creation.
Yes.
Okay, I want to write out scripts. You
have
an idea, but you don't know how to put it together. You can just tell AI. AI just helps you put those those stuff you have in your head together. Let you know, okay, this is what you need to do at so time. This is what you need to produce. And then also gives you varieties of tools, other tools you can use to get to achieve that. That's what AI does.
Okay. There's this big trend all over the world that have said AI is going to replace humans. Do you agree with that?
So why I'm laughing is because the CEO here has always had that question, like everywhere he goes, and then he always says yes, but so there's a but in it. It's going to replace you when you don't follow the trend.
Okay.
When you don't move with AI, I think me and my dad used to speak years back, and then we tell him there's some business he was doing actually, and then we're like, you need to use technology, you need to know how to use the computer. Then it was computer, you go to computer schools, and but he was like, no, I don't want to do this. And then later on in that business, he saw that the use of computer was actually necessary and important. So that's what it means. If you don't use AI, if you don't get conversant with AI and how AI works, you're going to be left behind. Actually, it's going to be taking your job away from you.
Okay, that's in the future. If you don't evolve.
If you don't evolve with it.
Light, you are.
I've injected him.
Okay. Light, let's look at this other aspect. You are literally the brain behind Lognetics. So how did that come about? Because from our era, we know we didn't study all of this in school. So did you pick it up when you went for your computer training?
Okay, so I've always been a very huge fan of technology for a very long period of time now. I think I can remember vividly when maybe from the age of 6, I played a lot with devices. I started building baby projects, at a very young age. So I didn't have the opportunity or the luxury that most kids have when their parents buy them maybe toys, all of those things. So when they buy toys and the rich kids now throw their toys away, I'll go and pick it up, dismantle, and understand how the internal brains of those toys were created, So I think back then I was the this science fair president of my school, and so I came up with a fair kind of event called the science fair also, so where young people can actually bring up innovations and the likes of them. So from a very young age, I've always had this flair for technology, beyond just maybe software part of technology. I've always been a very huge fan of exciting projects. Even at the age of 10, I was already very conversant with the fact that robotics will definitely take over this space. But I did study this in university. While I was even in university, I was studying engineering. Let me not mention the name of the engineering course. Some people not start trying to understand how it relates. But trust me, the both of them did not relate. But one way or the other, I'm still using what I studied in university. But while in the university, I was building a very powerful tech company, and I'm really happy I actually did that at this particular stage. Maybe when I was done, that would have possibly been when I would have started struggling to build. But looking at Lognetics now, I'm more excited to bring up a new trend or revolution around the African tech community, and it's exciting to see what we've actually been able to do. So Lognetics didn't just start one morning as maybe a robotics company or maybe an AI company. Of course, we evolved, we pivoted at strategic instances, but it has always been tech-centered. We started off branding companies, started providing tech-related services like software development and the likes of them. Then we, of course, scaled gradually. And that is where he possibly mentioned on the part where you possibly need to scale. When you're just there and then your systems or your strategies are not in line and they are telling you that technology is here to stay, and you decide not to use technology for your duties and engagements, while you're there, you'll be kicked out of the market. So we, of course, consistently scaled. And for every single time that a new technology or a new trend in technology comes in, we try to study the future base of these technologies and see how we can infuse ourselves into the system. And really exciting to see that we are not just pivoting out of the original concept of creating Lognetics, but we are still within the confinement of the technological landscape. And it's exciting to see what we've actually been able to build with that. So Lognetics is actually here to create a new era of revolution, both in technology and, of course, in every aspect of the human space. But at the same time, we're really centered on how to connect the real world to technology. That's basically our goal.
Okay, what are the ethical concerns that may arise in terms of around AI development in Africa? This has to link with data policy, surveillance, and so on. So what are the ethical concerns that are in line with all of this, sector?
Well, I think I'll possibly focus majority of my attention on data. So our data is just everywhere. Right now you can get any kind of information out there, and it's weird, not necessarily weird in a bad way or in a good way necessarily. Maybe I'll just put this in between, because right now, if you sneeze or you just randomly reveal a very subtle secret of yours, the internet already has it. To an extent now, if you ask ChatGPT of some kind of information, it didn't just assume those information, even if it is wrong. It got those information based off on data that are publicly available online. So the part of our data that is publicly available online, even when you do not even write it, let's give an instance. Somebody wants to deal with your reputation, they just publish something bad about you, and the next thing, the internet sticks to that space without even any form of solid verification. So I think one of the major ethical concerns will definitely be on the part of access to data, whether true or false.
Okay, in the next 10 years, now as we're getting set to wrap up now, what does the success story look like for Africa in AI and robotics?
Yeah, that's why my prediction is 2030, 2035, Okay. So I strongly believe that artificial intelligence is one way or the other going to be, it's already the new norms, Everybody right now is talking about AI. Do you know I have a company, a CEO friend of mine, we are basically just having a random conversation, and then he was like, if I'm hiring somebody, the person should actually know how to use AI. That's to tell you that a lot of people right now are even more, they are contented with the output of artificial intelligence compared to the output of their teams. I was reading just this morning, I think I was just swiping through social media, and a particular guy mentioned something that was really profound. He was like, that there are some companies that will lay you off if you do not know how to add AI to what you currently know. Let's give an instance as a developer. There's a way you will possibly be building some kind of systems, and you spend years building those kind of systems. But imagine prompting AI, and it helps you to generate codes. And instead of spending 6 months, you're ideally only spending like about 3 weeks or so. You already have the experience, but this system basically just help you to fine-tune your already existing knowledge and give you better structure, and of course execute your project in real time and even faster. So I strongly believe that artificial intelligence is here to stay, and in the next 10 to 20 years, we'll possibly maybe there's going to be like a new revolution, but AI is still going to be part of that particular revolution.
Okay. We're looking at this trend now and the projection from Light. Awesome. What must Nigeria do not to avoid missing this technology wave?
We must actually really act quick. You know, we must actually artificial intelligence has been from the beginning. It's just that it just has a name.
It just has a name.
It just has a
just
name.
like we know Bitcoin has been around since 2000 and 2003, but now people are just like, oh, Bitcoin, as if it came out from the blue.
So the thing is, as it's evolving, as there's a revolution in this, you know, industry, you just have to keep moving with it, keep acting on it, you know, keep improving yourself, you know, keep getting all the tools you need to get that will, you know, will make you, you know, stand out in your industry or your career. You know, that's what I would just say.
Okay. You mentioned something earlier that is striking light about the fact that you see, okay, actually you need to have all of those skills, but looking at someone who is looking to get into tech, AI, building and all of that, what are the basic steps or the early stages? What do you need to know? What do you need to have under your sleeve first before you want to embark into this sector?
Okay, so I usually would say that there are two categories of people within the tech space. There are people that use these technologies and there are people that create these technologies. So if you want to become someone that uses systems, it means that you should just get conversant with the tools that are already available to you. Let's say, for example, you want to go into image generation, you want to go into video generations, you want to go into content writing and the likes of them. There are tools that are available to you and you possibly could just make solid research across the net and get access to these tools, practice them and learn how to prompt them. That's on the part of AI. Then of course, if you want to become maybe a creator of these tools, then of course you have to, that's where the advanced trainings come in. Beyond just knowing how to speak English and prompting AIs, you should actually understand the algorithms that carry these systems or the backends of some of these structures. You know, so I would possibly say that maybe if you don't want to go into, maybe to go through the process of having to study in the university, maybe advanced AI trainings or maybe software development courses or certifications and the likes of them, you can decide to start gradually. Take up online courses. There are a couple of platforms out there that provide really structured trainings on how to build systems like this. So I would possibly say for those that want to create, become more intentional to learn how the tools work, how to build the systems, not just from the surface level, but from the ground up. And for those that want to know how to use, then understand the kind of tools that possibly will be helping you in real time. Maybe if you're understanding that, you should add Netix AI to it.
Okay. Adding Netix AI to it will actually be something very more, you know, significant for, you know, help aid the learning process. So looking at it, we've seen Explore coming. Okay, a year interval. Are we expecting to Explore this year, or we should gear up for next year?
Absolutely, Explore is happening this year. The executive roundtable is coming up very soon. This will be released publicly, maybe by next month or thereabouts. Then we have the main event. This time around, we are doing it on a very different level, like extremely different level. You know, every single time that you try something, you always know what, maybe thousands of ways how not to try it again. You know, so this time around, we're doing something really, really impactful, and we're doing it across 2 days, and we are hoping to gather tens of thousands of people across both days, and not just only going to be centered around conversations.
How is the tech society in Nigeria looking like? Is it really evolving? Do we have those numbers that are looking to really, really, you know, take this as a career?
Okay, so for the tech community in Nigeria, I would say it is actually really evolving, because most of the time, when I'm actually engaging with some people, maybe parents of young people, they always tell me, Light, I want you to mentor my child. I want my child to be the next tech giant. You understand? So a lot of parents, I'm seeing that a lot of people are beginning to embrace technology. You know, previously, when you come out and say you're a tech guy, the first thing that comes to somebody's mind is all these fraudsters.
Fraudsters, yes.
You know, they just label you maybe like a fraudster or something. But of course, we're not disregarding the fact that these people do exist, that use technology for the negative effects, or maybe use technology negatively to impact people. But we have people that actually understand what technology is and use it positively. Look at the fintech space in Nigeria. It's